right, welcome. Tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is René Eisenbart, and I have been painting pretty much all my life. I painted as a child and got some really good feedback, and that goes a long way. So I'm a huge supporter of children making art, and it's something I love to do.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, what's your main medium?
I love watercolor. I work in watercolor predominantly. Occasionally I will paint with acrylic, but mostly I just paint in watercolor.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't love about watercolor is that you have to frame it with glass, and it's not as archival as acrylic. So I've formulated ways of finishing my watercolor with acrylic to give it that longevity that other mediums have. Then, because I enjoy experimenting, I've dabbled quite a bit with using acrylic underneath the watercolor and in conjunction, so that I get layers of acrylic and then layers of watercolor and more acrylic and seal them in acrylic. So I go back and forth in that way. I also do marbling in acrylic along with my watercolor paint, which lends it a whole different perspective. It adds a quality of almost mystical quality, and changes it up from something that you can easily recognize and understand occasionally to giving it some mystery.
Nice, nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's your process?
So my process would be, I first come up with an idea, it's the concept, and then I start working with that concept, because as an artist, for me, composition is key. And if I don't have a good composition or a good idea to begin with, I can spend a lot of time spinning my wheels and never come up with a great painting. So I work with the basics of the idea and usually do sketching. I often do a value sketch, a value study, sometimes even a color study before I go into making a major large painting. Beyond that, I work with watercolor. It's really meant to be painted in layers. So I'll start with the lighter colors, flush those in, and then start working with darker colors. Occasionally throwing that dark in to begin with, just to have a foil to work so that my brain can wrap around the different values that are going to go into that painting.
Nice. What's a big painting versus a small painting for you?
A big painting might be 40 by 40 inches, or 30 by 40, even 22 by 30, which is full sheet watercolors, is on the large size. And small might be 6 by 6, or 10 by 10, so 8 by 8.
Sure. Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
And say a little bit about your subject matter.
So I've always been drawn to the natural world. I love animals. I enjoy people. As a child, that's what I drew: people and animals, horses and faces. So I'm still drawn to those same things and love to explore combining people with animals or creatures, just to make it a little more out of the ordinary.
Nice. And what's your biggest or best inspiration? What inspires you in art? Obviously the natural world, but is there other things in terms of either other artists or part of the world that it particularly you like to be inspired by?
That takes me to several places. For one, I love to travel and paint. It's a great combination, and there's just so much inspiration to be had. So I wanted to talk about also my inspiration comes often. What I'm aiming to do in my work is to elicit a feeling from the viewer. So what I'm trying to do is to not paint a person or a thing, but I'm actually working to paint a feeling. And to me, that's what resonates with me as an artist, is to be able to communicate that to someone. because my intention is to create joy for other people and through my art.
Wonderful, wonderful. So why does art matter in today's time?
That is such a great question. I love that because art has evolved so much through the years, and it's, I think in some ways it's underappreciated in our society today. I think artists are a little bit undervalued at times. People like art, but it's almost unusual. It is the unusual person that actually plans on buying art or supporting art. It does happen, which is a wonderful thing, and that's how we survive. It's also, to me, art is a gift that I can give. It's almost like I'm compelled to paint. It's something I do because I have something I need to express and share. So, how has art evolved? I think it's just so valuable for others to be able to see in a different way. The camera picks up the world as it is, but the artist, they transform the world into a different vision of what they see, and that is a special thing. It's also something, art is something that can only exist in a society that can sustain it. It's basically a luxury. Art is a luxury, but it's also a luxury that we can give ourselves.
Cool, good. And you touched on this a little bit earlier, but what do you want the viewer or those who are kind of coming to your art, what do you want your art to do or say or mean for them?
I really do work to elicit a feeling in the viewer. I also, as an artist, what I like to do is to have fun with my paintings and to create a story and to create a piece of art that may not be immediately understood, so that the viewer then has the opportunity to participate in the painting. By how an artist creates a painting, that is what determines how a viewer will actually look throughout the painting. And so for me, my main goal is to bring the viewer in and then to hold them there for a while, so that there are little surprises that might happen as they look around the painting.
Great. And I didn't say this question earlier, but I just thought of it as kind of a good kind of wrap up for us is, what would you say or give advice to people who want to become an artist or make art, either young folks or folks later in life, because people come to art at all times. What would you give them in terms of some advice or some encouragement?
The first thing that I would say is follow your heart. If you want to do it, do it. And don't pay any attention to what other people think. Because what's important is to express yourself. I also want to just touch on that art is a learned skill. People have come to me and they'll say, "Oh, you're so talented." Yeah, I think I have some natural aptitude, but it is totally a learned skill. No one expects that you can pick up a violin and play it. But people expect that you can pick up a paintbrush and paint. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. But give yourself the space and time to learn, and you'll be glad you did. Paint or draw or create for the love of doing it. That's the best way to get started.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking.